The United States has gone through dozens of recessions, crashes, and financial shocks since its founding. Yet one pattern has never changed. Ordinary Americans lose everything, while the wealthy emerge with more wealth than ever before. The question is not why recessions happen, but why recessions seem to benefit the same people again and again. If the middle class is always pushed down, someone must be pulling the strings from above. And in America, those strings run through Wall Street, Washington, and boardrooms the public never sees. Recessions are always presented as unpredictable tragedies, like natural disasters that arrive without warning. But behind every so-called unexpected crisis, there are people who saw it coming months or years in advance. They don't just prepare, they position themselves, and positioning is the key to turning the suffering of millions into opportunity. The rich do not fear economic storms. They rely on them to grow stronger, richer, and more powerful. Most Americans think wealth is built by working harder, but recessions reveal a different truth. Wealth is built by knowing how the system will respond to fear. When the average worker panics, the wealthy stay calm. When markets plunge, the wealthy go shopping. When layoffs hit, the wealthy buy companies for pennies on the dollar. This is not cruelty. This is the playbook. A playbook built over decades of influence, policy shaping, and an intimate understanding of how power truly moves. Before every recession, warning signs appear, signs the average person doesn't recognize. But insiders do. Rising corporate debt, overheated markets, manipulative interest rates, political tensions, supply chain weakness. These are signals the elite treat like gold. They know exactly when money is about to flee the system, and they know where it will land next. The middle class sees chaos. The wealthy see choreography. And when the crash finally arrives, the middle class is the first to lose. Their savings evaporate. Their retirement accounts collapse. Their home values plunge. Their jobs vanish. They are told to tighten their belts and weather the storm. But the wealthy, they're already moving. They have cash reserves, tax shelters, offshore accounts, diversified portfolios, teams of analysts, and government influence that ensure they always land on their feet. In every recession, assets go on sale, stocks crash, real estate plunges, companies file for bankruptcy. For the average American, these moments are terrifying. But for the wealthy, this is shopping season. They buy what others are forced to sell. They scoop up foreclosed homes, failing businesses, discounted stocks, distressed properties, and entire sectors that are temporarily weakened. When the economy eventually recovers, everything they bought skyrockets in value. The cycle repeats. Their wealth compounds. Everyone else restarts from zero. Think back to the 2008 financial crisis. Millions of Americans lost their homes, savings, and jobs. It was one of the darkest moments in modern history. But while families were packing their belongings into boxers, Wall Street firms were quietly buying thousands of homes at rock-bottom prices. They didn't buy them to live in. They bought them to rent out to the same people who lost them. A tragedy for one group became a long-term revenue stream for another. That is the recession playbook. Every major downturn in U.S. history shares the same pattern. Fear at the bottom, profit at the top. In 2000, the dot-com collapse enriched investors who waited to buy tech giants at dirt-cheap prices. In 2020, the pandemic crash wiped out small businesses, but sent billionaire wealth skyrocketing even before America had modern banking. The Panic of 1873 and the crash of 1929 allowed wealthy families to consolidate railroads, land, and industrial assets at historic discounts. Recessions don't change power, they accelerate it. To understand why the rich get richer in recessions, you have to understand leverage. Leverage means using borrowed money to multiply your purchasing power. Ordinary people fear debt because they've been punished by it. But the wealthy use debt as a weapon. When interest rates fall during crises, the elite borrow massive amounts of money at cheap rates. They use that borrowed cash to buy assets that will explode in value after the recovery. And while average Americans struggle to secure a small loan, billionaires get billions with a single phone call. Another tool in the recession playbook is tax engineering. The tax code in America is a maze one. The wealthy have learned to navigate with surgical precision, while average Americans pay taxes on salaries. The wealthy structure their income to avoid taxation through capital gains, losses, real estate, depreciation, trusts, shell companies, and perfectly timed investment right. In recessions, when asset prices fall, the wealthy harvest losses to offset future gains. To the public, it looks like the rich are losing money. In reality, they are restructuring their taxes for the next decade. But the most powerful tool the wealthy possess is influence. Recessions are not just financial events. They are political opportunities. When the economy collapses, Washington steps in with bailout programs, stimulus packages, relief funds, and emergency lending facilities. These programs are marketed as support for the people. Yet, somehow, the majority of the money ends up rescuing corporations, hedge funds, banks, and investors. The average American might receive a small check. The wealthy receive multi-billion-dollar lifelines. During the 2008 crisis, the U.S. government injected trillions into the financial system through programs like TARP and quantitative easing. Most of that money flowed directly into Wall Street, pushing asset prices higher and enriching investors. In 2020, history repeated itself. Small businesses closed forever, but large corporations received unlimited access to liquidity. Stock markets soared while unemployment skyrocketed. It wasn't an accident. It was the playbook in motion. Even interest rates become a weapon. When the Federal Reserve lowers rates, borrowing becomes cheaper. The wealthy rush to buy assets with loans that cost almost nothing. When the Federal Reserve raises rates later, average Americans pay the price through higher mortgages, credit card interest, and loan burdens. But the wealthy already locked in their cheap money during the downturn. Their gains are sealed. The middle class is left struggling. Media manipulation also plays a role. During recessions, major outlets spread fear. Market collapse. Record layoffs. Housing crash ahead. Fear pushes ordinary people to sell. But behind closed doors, wealthy investors see these fear-driven sell-offs as opportunities. They quietly buy while the public panics. By the time optimism returns, it's already too late. The wealthy already own the rebound-offs. And then there's the corporate acquisition strategy. When recessions hit, companies suffer. Small businesses struggle with cash flow. Medium-sized companies run out of reserves. Even large corporations face pressure. That's when private equity firms and multinational giants strike. They buy weakened companies, fire staff, cut wages, eliminate benefits, restructure operations, and then sell the company at massive profits years later. Recessions become clearance sales for corporate America. The story of American recessions is not a story of failure. It is a story of strategic redistribution. Money doesn't disappear in a recession. It moves. It moves from the pockets of the many into the hands of the few. The middle class loses wealth. The wealthy gain assets. The cycle is engineered, predictable, and deeply profitable for those who understand it. But here is the part most documentaries never tell you. The wealthy don't just profit from recessions, they prepare for them in advance. They build cash reserves, diversify their portfolios, invest in recession-proof industries, secure credit lines, and analyze global market data with teams of experts. Ordinary people are blindsided by economic storms. The wealthy track them like meteorologists track hurricanes. They know where the damage will land and where the opportunity will rise. So what can the average American do? The first step is understanding the patterns. Recessions will always come. They are baked into the system. But you don't have to be a victim of them. You can learn to adopt the mindset the wealthy use. You can build emergency funds, reduce bad debt, invest in long-term assets, acquire skills that stay valuable during downturns, and educate yourself about how money truly works. The wealthy aren't superhuman. They are prepared. Recessions are not the end of opportunity. They're the beginning of it. Every major fortune in America has a moment linked to crisis. Those who understand that crisis creates value position themselves to catch that value. Those who don't are swept away by the tide. Your financial destiny depends not on the economy, but on your reaction to it. There will be another recession. History guarantees it. But next time, you don't have to panic. You don't have to sell. You don't have to collapse with the crowd. You can become the person who sees the storm coming not as danger, but as potential. You can become the person who prepares, positions, and prospers. Because in America, wealth is not given. Wealth is timed. And the people who get richer in recessions aren't lucky they're ready. They're informed. They know the playbook. Now, you do too. The only question is, when the next recession arrives, will you be in the group that suffers from it or the group that benefits from it? The system won't become fair overnight. The wealthy will still play their game. But now you understand the rules. Now you understand the cycles. Now you understand the strategies that turn economic collapse into opportunity. Knowledge doesn't eliminate inequality, but it opens doors previously invisible. Doors the wealthy have walked through for generations. You can walk through them too. But only if you choose to see recessions not as catastrophes, but as turning points. Only if you choose to learn the strategies used by those who thrive during chaos. Only if you choose not to be controlled by fear, but empowered by information. The next recession is a countdown. When it arrives, you will either be ready or not. This documentary is not about predicting the future. It's about preparing for it. Because recessions will come. Crashes will happen. Markets will fall, but wealth will also shift. The question is not whether the rich will get richer. The question is whether you will rise with them or fall behind them. Understanding the recession playbook is the first step. Applying it is the next. When the next economic storm hits America, millions will panic, but a few will stand calm, focused, and strategic. You can be one of them. You don't need to be a billionaire. You just need to stop thinking like a victim of recessions and start thinking like a student of them. Because the secret the wealthy never reveal is simple. Recessions do not create wealth for them. Terapia all'italiano. So when the markets shake, when prices drop, when fear spreads across the country, remember this moment, remember this playbook, remember that wealth does not vanish, it moves. And you now know exactly where it moves to. The next recession may be a tragedy for many, but for you, it can be the beginning of transformation, the beginning of power, the beginning of building generational wealth. This is how the rich get richer in every recession. And this is how you can stop being an observer of the economy and start becoming a participant in it.